Imagine being given an unlimited budget, the greatest artists in history, and 120 years to finish the job. Well, the result is right here in front of you. This is the Vatican and its heart, St. Peter's Basilica. This is the place where Michelangelo left his only signed masterpiece. It's where Bernini created a bronze giant that literally takes your breath away. Every mosaic here looks like a painting, and every inch of the floor is steeped in a history of intrigue and triumph. It's hard to believe that all of this was built by human hands. Today, we're going to do more than just look at this beauty. We're going to try to convey the sheer scale of the ambition that built this world within a world. Starting our morning here in Rome, I'm already heading toward the Vatican. I took the metro to the Ottaviano station, and from there, it's literally a 10-minute walk. To get into St. Peter's Square, everyone has to go through metal detectors after the security check. You usually have to wait in another line just to get inside St. Peter's Basilica. But today, I'm basically walking right in. It's super early right now, and that's my #1 tip for anyone planning a visit. You really want to get to the Vatican before it opens, around 7 o'clock or 7:30 a.m. The thing is, insane crowds of tourists gather here throughout the day. If you're even an hour late, you could easily spend your entire morning just standing in line. Even before you step inside the basilica, standing under this massive vault, it's impossible not to look up. Even out here, the ceilings are absolutely breathtaking in their scale and detail. When you first walk into the basilica, the sheer scale hits you. The space is massive, the vaults are soaring, and the amount of detail is just incredible. No matter how many times you've seen this interior in photos or videos, the reality is 10 times more majestic. I chose this entrance for a reason. Right here in the first chapel on the right is Michelangelo's Pieta. This sculpture depicts the Virgin Mary holding the body of Jesus Christ after the crucifixion. Michelangelo created this masterpiece when he was only 25 years old, and it instantly made him famous. It's actually the only sculpture he ever signed. On the sash across Mary's chest, you can read, "Michelangelo Buonarroti, Florentine, made this." If Michelangelo's other works are a hymn to physical power, this statue is a hymn to the strength of the spirit. Opposite the giants of the Renaissance stands the monument to Pope Leo XII. When he was elected, he famously told the cardinals, "You are electing a dead man." That's how physically weak he was. But this dead man found the strength to rule for 6 years. The sculptor captured this triumph of will perfectly. The Pope is shown majestically blessing the people, while behind him, you can see the heads of the very same cardinals who elected him. In the second chapel of the Basilica, we find the Chapel of Saint Sebastian. Above the altar is a mosaic depicting the saint's martyrdom, based on sketches by the famous artist Domenichino. The mosaic itself was crafted by the master Pietro Cristofari back in the 18th century. Resting beneath the altar are the remains of St. John Paul II, which were moved here following his canonization. Before that, this was the resting place of Innocent XI. Flanking the sides are statues of Pope Pius X and Pius XI, representing the church in the 20th century. As we move past the Chapel of St. Sebastian, you really start to feel that we're in the very heart of the Vatican. where every single detail tells a piece of its long history. But how did this miracle come to be? It all started in 1506 when Pope Julius II decided to tear down the old, crumbling church and build something truly grand. The first architect was Donato Bramante. He was so ruthless in tearing down ancient structures without a second thought that they actually nicknamed him the Master Destroyer. He only managed to raise the 4 giant pillars that still support the entire building today. After him, the great Raphael took over the project and tried to change the cathedral's layout, but it was Michelangelo who truly left his mark on the architecture. He's the one who designed this incredible dome that's now the symbol of the Vatican. Finally, in the next era, Bernini completed the ensemble by designing the massive square out front. Right in front of us is the altar of St. Jerome. Resting inside the glass sarcophagus is Pope John XXIII, known to history as the Good Pope. Take a look at his ceremonial vestments. He's wearing the traditional red papal mozzetta and a rare headpiece called a camoro. But the real treasure of this spot is right above him, the mosaic of the Last Communion of St. Jerome. It took Vatican masters decades to recreate Domenichino's masterpiece using millions of tiny pieces of smalty glass. The original painting is actually kept in the Vatican Pinacoteca today. As I mentioned earlier, Raphael tried to change the cathedral's layout. Originally, Donato Bramante designed St. Peter's in the shape of a Greek cross-symmetrical plan with equal arms and a massive central dome. Then, in 1547, at the age of 71, Michelangelo took over as lead architect. He actually returned to Bramante's original vision of the Greek cross. He reinforced the walls and pillars to support that giant dome, making sure the entire focus remained on that central masterpiece. You've probably noticed the emblems with the crossed keys all over the Basilica. These are the keys to the kingdom of heaven given by Christ to the Apostle Peter. The gold key represents power in heaven, while the silver one symbolizes authority here on earth. Right in front of us is the altar of Madonna del Soccorso. It was originally created as a place to pray for protection and help during difficult times. An interesting fact is that people used to bring special offerings to this altar as a sign of gratitude for being saved from danger. Now let's head over to the main entrance. Guys, look down at your feet. Do you see this massive red porphyry disc? Most tourists just step right over it, having no idea they're standing on one of the most significant stones in Europe. It was right here, on Christmas Day in the year 800, that Charlemagne knelt and was crowned the first emperor of the Holy Roman Empire. As you walk through the central doors and head straight down the main nave, your eyes are immediately drawn to the monumental masterpiece in the center, St. Peter's Baldacchino. This massive bronze baldacchino, created by Gian Lorenzo Bernini between 1624 and 1633, seems to float over the high altar. It marks the exact spot of St. Peter's tomb, which lies directly beneath it in the crypt. Under this canopy is the main papal altar, where only the Pope himself is allowed to celebrate Mass. The scale of the baldacchino is staggering. It stands nearly 100 feet tall and weighs about 63 tons. Its 4 twisting columns are decorated with gilded laurel leaves and bees, the symbol of the Barberini family, to which the patron, Pope Urban VIII, belonged. Interestingly, some of the bronze was actually stripped from the Pantheon, which sparked quite a bit of controversy back then. But today, it just adds to the historical intrigue. At the very top, figures of angels and a golden globe with a cross symbolize Christ's dominion over the world. Standing before this structure, you can't help but feel the sheer majesty and spiritual power of this place. If you look through the columns of the baldacchino, you get a perfect view of the Cathedra Petri, also known as the Golden Altar. This grand reliquary, another Bernini masterpiece from 1666, encases a wooden chair that tradition says was used by Saint Peter himself. The throne appears to hover among the clouds, supported by 4 giant figures of the doctors of the Church: Saints Ambrose, Augustine, Athanasius, and John Chrysostom. Above the throne is an oval window made of thin slices of alabaster, featuring the dove of the Holy Spirit. Golden rays radiate from it, surrounded by clouds and angels, creating the effect of divine light bursting through the walls and onto the visitors. The whole composition feels like a genuine miracle, as if heaven and earth are merging right before your eyes. Now, let's head over to the left side of the basilica. Guys, take a look at this masterpiece, the tomb of Pope Alexander VII. This was the final work of the legendary Bernini. He was already 80 years old when he created it. Do you see the skeleton tucked under that heavy marble drapery? He's holding an hourglass as a reminder, your time is running out. Hidden beneath the monument is an actual door, the door of death, which the Pope himself once passed through. Interestingly, it was also Alexander VII who commissioned Bernini to build the famous colonnade in St. Peter's Square, designed to embrace the faithful. If you look up at the domes, the interiors reveal their incredible beauty. They are decorated entirely in mosaic rather than paint, which is why they've stayed so vibrant and durable even after centuries. Every scene tells a biblical story or depicts saints and angels, almost like an invitation on a spiritual journey. Michelangelo's central dome is especially breathtaking. The composition is designed so that your eyes naturally drift toward the top, where light pours through the windows and illuminates the mosaic figures. Every detail, from the faces of the saints to the intricate patterns, is steeped in symbolism and pure mastery. Right here is the altar of the lie. The mosaic depicts the biblical story of the punishment of Ananias and Sapphira. According to the legend, the couple sold their land and were supposed to give all the proceeds to the apostles. Instead, they decided to withhold part of the money while claiming they had given everything. For this deception before God, they both fell dead on the spot. On the left side of the basilica, there's a small passage that most tourists don't even notice at first. But if you head inside, you'll find a fascinating detail. The walls are lined with lists of every pope in history. It features the names of the pontiffs who have led the Catholic Church throughout the centuries, a literal timeline of the Vatican, spanning nearly 2,000 years of the papacy. As you walk further down this hall, you really notice how opulent the space is. The marble, the columns, and the decor are classic Renaissance and Baroque. These corridors connect different wings of the basilica and lead to various offices and museums. A bit further down, you'll find the Vatican gift shop. They sell all sorts of keepsakes here: books, postcards, crosses, rosaries, and other religious items. These shops are tucked away in a few spots around the Basilica and are incredibly popular with both pilgrims and tourists. Walking through St. Peter's Basilica, you really start to grasp the sheer magnitude of the work that went into this place. Every mosaic, every tiny detail of the interior is the result of over 120 years of labor by the world's greatest masters. The Catholic Church funded the construction through donations from the faithful across all of Europe. Because of that support, the most legendary artists and architects of the era were able to pour their genius into this cathedral. Now we're heading out of the Basilica and making our way toward the dome. Up ahead is the climb to one of the most famous viewpoints in the Vatican. To get to the dome, you need to exit the Basilica and walk around to the left side. That's where you'll find the entrance and the ticket office. There are two ways to get to the top. You can take the elevator part of the way and walk the remaining steps, or you can take the stairs the whole way up. Either way, you're going to be climbing quite a few stairs. As for the tickets, if you choose to take the stairs all the way to the top, that's 551 steps. It'll cost you €8. If you take the elevator to the mid-level and then walk the final 320 steps, it's €10. It's important to note that while entrance to the Basilica itself is free, you do have to pay for the climb to the dome. You usually buy your tickets right there at the ticket window near the entrance to the climb. As you make your way up, you first enter the interior gallery directly beneath Michelangelo's dome. From here, you can walk all the way around and see the Basilica from a completely different perspective. Looking down, the view of the interior is breathtaking. The people below look like tiny ants. The dome features a double shell design, which makes it incredibly strong yet visually light. Michelangelo cut 16 massive windows into the drum of the dome to flood the interior with light, a true hallmark of his style. He designed them so the light hits at just the right angle, creating the illusion that the dome is actually floating. Because the sunlight is so bright, the window frames almost seem to disappear, leaving you with nothing but brilliant beams of light. Running around the base of the dome is the famous Latin inscription. Translated, it reads, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and I will give you the keys to the kingdom of heaven." These are the words Jesus spoke to the Apostle Peter, who, according to Christian tradition, is the foundation of the church. It symbolically highlights Peter's role as the leader of the apostles and serves as a powerful reminder of spiritual strength to everyone climbing up inside the dome. Once you leave the mosaic gallery, you enter this narrow passageway where you're literally walking inside the wall. Michelangelo's dome is a double shell design. There's an inner shell that we see from inside the basilica, and an outer shell that protects it from the elements. You're walking in that tight space right between them. The strangest part is the tilt of the walls. The higher you climb, the more you feel it. Because the dome tapers toward the top, The outer wall starts to literally lean in on you. You actually have to tilt your body as you walk because the wall curves away from you, depending on which way the stairs are winding. It totally messes with your equilibrium and can make you feel a little lightheaded. At first, the stairs seem normal, but toward the end, they turn into this tight, winding spiral. The steps get shallow and incredibly steep. Instead of a handrail, there's often just a thick rope hanging there that you have to grab onto to keep your balance. When you finally reach the observation deck, a breathtaking view of all of Rome opens up before you. The entire Eternal City is right there in the palm of your hand. On a clear day, you can easily pick out the Pantheon, the Colosseum, and the famous hills of Rome. From up here, you get an amazing view of St. Peter's Square and the beautiful curved colonnade. From the back side of the dome, you'll see the private Vatican Gardens, an area off-limits to most tourists with its green alleys, fountains, and even the Pope's private helipad. On especially clear days, you can see the peaks of the Castelli Romani Mountains on the horizon, and in the opposite direction, a thin silver sliver of the Mediterranean Sea. After taking in the views from the top observation deck, we start heading back down and soon find ourselves on the much more spacious roof terrace of the dome. The most impressive part here is the chance to get up close to the 13 massive statues that decorate the Basilica's facade. From down in the square, they look like tiny figures, but standing here, you realize they're nearly 20 feet tall. You can see them from the back and the side. Jesus Christ in the center with John the Baptist and 11 apostles at his side. I am back down in St. Peter's Square. Along with the breathtaking views and the fountains, there's a small but really cool Vatican post office here. If you step inside, you can buy Vatican-themed stamps and send out a postcard or a letter. The staff will even give it an official Vatican postmark, something you can only get right here. Once your letter is written and stamped, you just drop it into the special mailbox, and it's off to its destination straight from the Vatican. Walking across St. Peter's Square now, I'm just struck by its sheer scale and harmony. It's one of the most recognizable places on Earth. Bernini designed it to hold thousands of people for papal addresses and holidays. The two semicircular colonnades are especially impressive, made up of 284 columns and 88 pilasters. They seem to embrace every visitor, creating a feeling that's both grand and somehow cozy and protected at the same time. Each column is carved with perfect precision, and if you look up, you'll see the statues of saints and martyrs watching over everything happening in the square. Right in the center is an obelisk brought here back in the 1st century AD, flanked by two fountains that perfectly match the architecture and add a sense of movement and freshness to the space. Even the paving stones are laid out so that from certain spots, the lines lead your eyes straight to the basilica's facade. creating an amazing sense of perspective. And that brings our journey through the Vatican to an end. I really hope you enjoyed it and learned something new about this incredible place. If you liked the video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, and share this video with your friends. It really helps me keep creating these travel adventures for you. There are plenty more cities and new experiences ahead. See you in the next video.